interesting facts. This one I've kind of talked about before.
Being 7 o'clock, I call the meeting to order. The first order of business is approval of minutes of February 7th, 2023. A motion?
Motion to accept the minutes of 2/7/23.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? None being seen. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, none. It passes. Next is the fiscal year 2024 FY24 budget. Jamie?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the CPC members and folks watching at home. So tonight before the committee is the proposed FY24 budget. All of you have been on the committee now for a few years and through the cycle. If you look on page, there's no numbers, but it's Resolution 2323, which would be a town council resolution. This is just a draft. You'd obviously have to recommend it from CPC. You're not obviously the town council, but to illustrate this, we've broken this out as we have exactly the previous 2 years. We anticipate 1.87 million in revenues for FY24 for CPC, and the requisite amounts up top represent those particular categories at the maximum level allowed by the law. Case in point, $93,542, which is 5% of the total pot that goes just to administrative expenses. That's the maximum allowed under the law. The next two categories, historic preservation, community housing, $187.84 in each of those accounts. That represents 10% of the allotment that's required under statute. And then the 1.017 million number is the proposal both that's the actual costs for the open space for both Schmidt Farm and Maple Hill. Debt and interest, principal and interest are baked into that cost. Those are also where the appropriations that the town is requesting for funding tonight for the recreation department is also in that total. The remaining, if all those are approved, would be $385,441 into the budgeted reserve, which we went through that sheet at the last meeting. We still have well over $1 million in budgeted reserve that the town can spend. In this year, while the historic preservation and community housing, 10%, there are no projects necessarily before the committee tonight. Those reserves stay there. If we never spent anything this year on housing or historic preservation, the 10% requirement would stay there. So those do stay in reserve funds until they're expended. Theoretically, towns have not spent any historic preservation money, for example, for 10 years, 5 years, and then they have a budgeted reserve of whatever that amount is. So sometimes communities save those monies up for a bigger project.
Jane, you have a question?
Yep.
Oh, sorry, I'm
What?
sorry.
No, that's okay. No, go ahead.
Okay. What I'm asking is that, or what I would say that next year, so this is just based on what we're taking in from the town, is that right?
I believe this also includes, oh, it is
Just
the
coming in
town.
from the town.
In the match,
The
Both.
match next year is probably going to be smaller.
right.
They
We
account-
estimated,
They accounted for
we
that?
estimated 25%.
Okay, I just
On
wanted to
the,
check. Thank you.
The sheet, on the sheet after the resolution, and I apologize if the font is small. We work out of Excel. Just my
Oh,
little
I see what you.
shot at Excel. State match 25%, it's right there in yellow.
Okay, so the state
Okay.
match instead of over 30 is going to be about 25.
Well, you know, I think last year was a good example of, you know, I wish we would know in advance, but we don't. It's just the way the system works. The legislature could put more money into the account too.
Oh, really?
Well, that's what happened last year.
That's
The
right.
legislature infused 20 million more into the CPA fund last year, which is why the match went up a little higher than we thought.
The worst-case scenario is if the numbers less, we just have to have another meeting to recalibrate what we budgeted.
That's right.
And
as far as the 10%, we don't have to spend the 10%, but we have to allocate it.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So we don't have, just because it's there doesn't mean we have to spend it. It just has to stay there until it's used for that purpose.
That's correct.
Okay.
And, you know, there are projects, I'm sure, that, well, we know of some smaller ones. I'm sure others might have ideas. The issue right now is bandwidth. We haven't even finished the cupola. We haven't even started the projects from last year. So, you know, it's almost like we're on our own mini runaway inflation. Like, we can't, there's just too many ideas and too many projects and too few people to do them. And the Red Brick Schoolhouse is moving along. Here's a great example of the world we live in. Red Brick Schoolhouse is ready to go. What's left? Doors, windows. We get the windows shipped. They're 4 inches misdone. So 4. Like, not just like a half an inch, 4 inches. They measured them. They were there. They physically did it. I don't know how it could get screwed up. But I think this is the reality of the world that we live in. Things just do get screwed up. And that's just the way it works. It's okay. Somebody made a big boo-boo. We rejected the windows. We're not paying for them. They had to redo them. They redid them last week or 2 weeks ago. And we have to reorder them. So the windows, and now that project probably won't get done until well into summer. And so I'm just saying that these are the issues we're seeing, like, from a facility standpoint. So even though there may be projects here, you know, there's just not enough time to be able to either do them, research them properly, make sure we've gone out and we've done it, you know, getting the quotes together. I mean, I know the rec projects tonight are moving forward because we have very accurate numbers. But I think it's just best right now if we don't recommend anything else other than what we've got in the pipeline. And so that's the budget. Happy to answer any questions, obviously.
Thank you.
Jane, should we vote on the individual rec projects first?
You could. And I would also say, if you're gonna do that, Mr. Chairman, I would also vote on the open space too, because
Yeah.
it's an appropriation.
Oh, we'd hate to vote the budget and then have something not get passed.
Right, true, yep,
Okay.
yep. So you have 2 resolutions, again, you're not the council, these are here. The motions are similar, you just have to say it from the CPC. But you've got the debt service for Maple Hill and Schmidt Farm, and you've got the rec projects. Those are what I'm being told are the required recommendation votes.
So what I'd like to do first is, we want to recommend resolution 23-24, correct?
That's correct.
So I would entertain a motion to recommend resolution 23-24.
I make a motion to.
If you could, Mr. Chairman, sorry, there's a motion right at the bottom of the thing, of the resolution way down below, it says motion.
Yeah.
Could you just do that, and instead of town council, obviously your community preservation committee?
Sure.
Those are the motions that I think the town attorney is trying to get everybody to.
Okay,
to
so
do.
be it moved and voted by the Community Preservation Committee that the sum of $692,693 be appropriated from the Community Preservation Open Space Reserve Fund in FY '24 to pay the annual Maple Hill Land and Schmidt Farm Bond debt service. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to.
Just say so moved.
So moved.
Yep.
Thank you.
In a
Second.
second. Does anyone have any questions? Comments? We'll take a vote, and we need to,
Yep.
it's, we don't need to do a roll
There's
call.
nobody on Zoom.
Right, so we don't need to do a roll call vote,
Okay.
okay? So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, passes 6-0. Be it moved and voted by the Community Preservation Committee that the sum of $325,000 be appropriated from the Community Preservation Reserves in the amounts and for the projects indicated above in fiscal year 2024, with each item to be considered on a separate appropriation. The first is Fletcher Street Playground ADA accessibility in the amount of $150,000. Is there a motion?
Motion. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we're voting on Fletcher Street Playground ADA accessibility. Does anyone have any questions or comments about that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, next is Beaver Street Tech Challenge course in the amount of $150,000. Is there a motion?
So moved, is that what I'm
Sure.
supposed to say?
Yep.
Second.
Does anyone have any questions or comments about Beaver Street Challenge course? So we're gonna vote on the approval of that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Next is the Nason Street tot lot in the amount of $25,000.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna vote on the whole piece that I just read.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any questions on the whole package? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Okay, now we're gonna go back and vote approval of the budget.
2024 budget.
Yes. So be it moved and voted by the Community Preservation Committee that the sum of $1,870,844 be appropriated or reserved as indicated above in FY 2024 from the Community Preservation Fund annual revenues in the amounts recommended by the Franklin Community Preservation Committee. Is that appropriate, Jamie?
Mm-hmm.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any questions or comments on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. All right. Anything else?
All good.
I'd like to make a comment.
Okay.
Ryan, thank you for all the work you do for the town.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Running these projects has to be a job in and of itself.
I enjoyed it.
I asked him last
Yeah.
week when we powwowed, just to get all the quotes updated. I was a little scattered, some papers were all over it. I said,
They're all
you
here.
have the time for do this? And he looked at me and said, this is one of the best parts of the job. Right? Sorry to talk about our private conversation in public, but I felt that was apropos to your question, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'll second that. I'll say thank you to Ryan as well for all his hard work and input to help us with our job. Thank you.
And the vision.
Yeah. Anyone else have a comment? Question? Next meeting?
So April 4th, there's no need, that will be canceled unless the committee needs to. And then the next meeting would likely be around, I mean, the May meeting might also be something we may think about canceling. I don't think we need it. I think right now, one of the challenges I have is just outside of time, which I am getting help soon. You know, I think is going to be about trying to do some more PR to the community. When the deputy town administrator comes on board in the summer, one of the things they'll be doing is kind of ramping up some community relations around. I think one of the things that I'd like to point out is applications now can come in on a rolling basis. And so if someone in the community has an idea or a project, you can just apply. And then we can meet. And we can look at it, approve it, deny it, tweak it, you know, whatever. It doesn't need to be at the public hearing. The second thing I'd mention, Mr. Chairman, is the King Street Memorial Park is going to be something we're looking for the following year. We're getting pretty close to kind of an agreed upon design that we want to go back to the neighborhood and talk to them about, this group about. So looking out a year from now, you know, that's probably one of the bigger highlight projects. Additionally, Old South Church, we're working on a historic preservation restriction right now with Habitat for Humanity for that project. They may come request some CPC fundings for some of that work. So there are a lot of things going on, just haven't been able to put it all together yet. So unless I hear otherwise, I think, you know, we don't need a meeting in April for sure. You know, we'll leave May on the calendar for now and we'll communicate with everybody, but I don't think there'll be a need for a meeting then unless folks want to have a meeting and discuss something.
You don't think Ryan will have these 3 projects done and be willing to put forward for another one?
He's probably going to have the tot lot cleared tomorrow. Oh, so I don't know. You know, I think you know, it's just whenever folks want to meet at this
Okay.
point, or whenever there's project applications.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're starting Mason Street tot lot on April 4th. So by the time you guys meet again, we'll have that done. It'll be your first project that you approved.
Yep.
It'll be finished.
Maybe we should meet there.
That'd be a great idea.
Could be in May.
Hey,
I will give you a heads up, actually, onto that point. One thing Julie Jacobson is going to be working in our office for the next few months on is getting a list of I don't want to call them ribbon cuttings, but to illustrate, we need some ceremonial events around the red brick schoolhouse, around the tot lot, and we also need one, I think, around Schmidt Farm, Maple Hill probably, but Schmidt for sure. We'll probably do that in the fall once the property officially changes over. And so Julie's going to be working on some events like that. We're also working with the DPW to create signs. This project has been funded by the Community Preservation Act. This project has been funded by the American Rescue Act, you know, stuff like that. So while people seeing all this work going along in town, you know, they can also realize that their money's going to really, really good stuff. So there's a couple of other anecdotal things that we're working on too.
Did you want to add anything, Kerry?
Yeah, Chris, just like to thank Jamie too for all of his help and guidance
Yes,
Yes.
through this process. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
I
Wayne.
know.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
This is the fun part of the job,
Yeah.
for sure. Right? Open space, ball fields, doesn't get any better than that.
Yep. I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?